Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for joining. We are going to have the session with the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance with Mr. Kazuaki and Mr. Weijia. Hi, Kaz. Hello. How are you doing? Need to unmute yourself? Hey, Weijia, how are you? Yeah, we just you guys, if you can just unmute yourself, then we can.
Okay. Hi.
Hi, Weijia. How are you?
Hi.
Yes, thank you very much for taking the time today. I know it's late for you on top, and I really appreciate that you're taking the time.
Yeah, well, it's great. I just heard Joe Lubin's talk. It's great. It's great. You guys did a great job.
Thank you, and we'll do the same. Hello, Kazuaki. I think we still can't hear you.
I think he muted.
You need to unmute yourself. And I think it's still the.
Oh yeah.
Oh. Yeah, it was working on something.
Hello.
Oh, hey, Kaz. Yeah, we can hear you well. Can you hear us well?
Kaz, can you hear?
Yes, sorry about that. Can you hear?
No worries. Yes,
Okay.
All good. And yeah, thank you very much for both of you for joining today. This session is about the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance. And at ATO, we are a member of the EEA, so we really wanted to have this session, especially with the two of you, to really explain to the Thai community and the people joining this event, what is the EEA and what are you doing, and where we think that this is a very important piece of the whole Ethereum Enterprise blockchain. So just before we start, my name is Maxim. I'm the CMO of ATO. I've been in blockchain since 2015 and been living in Thailand for more than 12 years now. So at ATO, we are a member of the EEA, and this is something which was really important for us because we are building blockchain for enterprise applications. And so for these sessions, we have Mr. Weijia Zhang, the regional head for China for the EEA, and Kazuaki Ishiguro-san from Japan. And really great to have you both. We're going to have a presentation from you, some slides, and after will be some Q&A for the people attending. Please feel free to ask your question in the Q&A box, and we'll reply to them at the end of the question. Some were already asked during Joe's presentation, but anyway, we'll let you go. And Weijia, the floor is yours, and thank you very much again.
Okay, thank you, Maxim. It's a great honor to be here presenting EEA. And we're going to, Kazuki and I are going to present this together. So Kazuki is going to start with the EEA introduction, and then I'm going to go into interoperability. Then Kazuki will mention about EEA Japan, and then we're going to have some Q&A. Well, thank you for this event. Kazuki?
All right, thank you for having us. It's really an honor to be here. So let's start for the introduction about EEA. The next slides, please. So EEA introduction. Okay, so EEA stands for Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, as you can see. And the EEA is a member-driven organization. And our goal is to create open and trusted standard specification for Ethereum that is beneficial for both business and users. So to achieve this goal, there are a few conditions are listed at the bottom of the slides. The first step is to take an open source approach to create specification and try not to create all specification for benefit for one entities and so on. And the next one is to then create them according to the market requirements of the enterprise. Otherwise, we'll be ended up with a blockchain that no one wants or needs. And the third one is to tandem with the public Ethereum and because many of the specifications that work for the public are often beneficial for enterprise use cases as well. And finally, enable interoperability. We'll have more of this later from Weijia. Next one. So now I want to talk about why EEA, and why EEA is the position to create standards. Standards, why it's important to do so. The one reason is to create an environment where members can proactively create global standards through the organization. This is something we can learn from a history of the internet, I guess, and where it is clear that well-discussed and refined technologies are more likely to be accepted by users. And those standards should be the one that solve problems for users. Another advantage of creating standards is that they give users and companies more choices. And unfortunately, it's hard to think of a silver bullet technology that can solve all problems. And it is important to build a product that is optimized for the problems you want to solve. If there is enough choices, the chances of dealing with those problems are greatly increased. So the next one. Okay, so this is not the latest update, but there are members, and the numbers of members are growing, I guess more than 300, 400 right now. And next one is, that's the stats of a global and industry diversification. As you can see, Asia is a little less than 20%. And then I believe this is not the latest in the updated version. So it's probably around 20 or 25% right now. And then most of the members are coming from banking and financial industries, and also their native cryptocurrency startup or businesses. And so next one. Now we want to talk about the organizational structures. The structure of the association or organization is very general, I think, and allows for regular members to contribute without any barriers. I guess it's a really important thing, and there are two important things about these structures. And one is various working groups from form the core of the organization by taking a bottom-up approach. Then we can discuss what blockchain specifications are really necessary for both companies and users. But the second most important thing is the ability to share information among the working groups. We believe it is essential to be able to easily access information that has already been tested or discussed in detail one group, and if it's equally useful to the other members as well, I mean other working groups as well. So the next one is how we operate. I'll let Weijia to explain that part.
Well, thank you, Kazuki. Yeah, this is Weijia. I'm a chair of Crosschain Interoperability work group, so I know the process very well. So the first, the EEA is a member-driven organization. So we collect use cases, and then we kind of ask the member companies to provide what kind of problem they want to solve. And then these are mainly coming from special interest group. And then the task force or the work group began to collect the information and come up with requirements, and then do the architectural reference design. So we have a kind of reference architecture that can be accepted by majority of the stakeholders. And at that point, we began to develop specification, because specification has to be endorsed by all the members in the organization. So we began to develop specification, and once the specification is developed, but then we come up with a test net with a solution, and then we are going to have a certification program to certify the solutions that are based on standards. And that's what Joe Ruben mentioned about the EEA, about the quorum. That's from JP Morgan. They implement JP Morgan based on EEA's privacy transaction specification. So it is kind of a proprietary solutions or open source solutions built on specifications or standards. Yeah, and then there's a major difference between EEA Enterprise and the Ethereum public blockchain, and I think Joe Ruben mentioned that a lot and in the previous session. Enterprises are mainly on private blockchain or consortium blockchains, and those are permissioned. And then Ethereum public blockchain is a public blockchain is permissionless. So there are huge differences between the two, because one is open to all the people, so everybody can participate as a validator node, but the other one need approval from the organization, and sometimes even the consensus is different. For example, in the enterprise blockchain, sometimes we use a BFT, while the other one use the proof of work or proof of stake or whatever that can be adopted by the ecosystem. And then this is the main architecture. I'm going to mention this one in the next session. So this is the main architecture. I think Ethereum EEA added the privacy transactions, which is on the right-hand side of the architecture here. I'm going to touch this more in the Crosschain or interoperability session later. Yeah, and then to answer the question about how to become an EEA member, many people ask that question. Yeah, it's very easy. You just either send the email to regional representative or send the email to membership at this ECM Enterprise ECM Alliance.org. And then there are several benefits for that Kazuaki mentioned already. And here's the current leadership of our partnership and business team. Dr. Dan Burnett is our new executive director, and he's a very well-known kind of expert in blockchain and academia as well. And then we have Ken Fromm, who is the director of Special Interest Group, and then also Jack, who is the director of membership. They're all people easy to work with. So if your company has an interest in joining EEA or to know something more about EEA, please feel free to either contact leadership or regional leadership or just the general EEA membership site. Yeah, and also another thing to mention is that on December 3rd, we are going to have a Ethereum in the Enterprise conference. This is for the Asia Pacific region. And this is going to be focusing on companies, enterprises in the Asia Pacific region who are building on Ethereum platform for enterprises. So all the companies are welcome. If you want to know more information, please contact Masim or Kazuaki or me, or just look at the EEA website. You should get more information on that. This will be a great opportunity for enterprises in Asia Pacific region to know more about EEA. Yeah, now I'm going to talk about interoperability, cross-chain interoperability work group. And I think Joe Ruben mentioned about that in previous session about how important this is. Background, right? The growth of public and private blockchains kind of imposes challenges for interoperability among blockchains. And that's why it's very important to connect Ethereum with Bitcoin, connect with EOS, with Cosmos, with Polkadot. But today we don't have a standard for that yet. And the survey EEA did shows that all the companies want to have some standard on that, want to build bridges to connect different blockchains. So I think we are at the time to just start explore the possibility of establishing standards to connect blockchains. It's just like during the 90s of last century, we connect PCs through open protocol on open standards. And the goal of cross-chain interoperability work group is to try to solve this kind of problem. We know it's very challenging, but we try to solve it. And the two chairs for this work group, one is from Consensus, which is Joe Ruben's company, and one is me, who's working for EEA and OneChain. Yeah, and today the status of today is that actually started last September in Seattle. We proposed this Crosschain Interoperability Task Force proposal to EEA, and it got accepted at that face-to-face meeting, and then we start to work on this one. And today we have already published a Crosschain Interoperability use case document. We collected all the solutions, I think most of the solutions in Crosschain Interoperability space, and then we get the features together and come up with some common components and common architecture, and then we start to look at the features and the specification we need to address for this Crosschain Interoperability. Yeah, this is the architecture that we come up with. I think in previous session when Joe Rubens was presenting, he mentioned about quorum and the difference between enterprise blockchain and the public blockchain. And it shows here in Ethereum's architecture for enterprises. If you look at I think the green color here, maybe you cannot see clearly, but the green color here, light green color here is public Ethereum. Basically, this is Ethereum, and this is layered. You have network layer, you have core blockchain layer, enterprise layer, and then tooling and application layer. Most of the applications are at this application layer, decentralized application layer on the top. But at the bottom, we have network and the core blockchain layer. So the one on the left side are mainly public blockchain. And then for enterprise blockchain, you have to add performance, privacy, and the scalability to the blockchain. And this is what enterprise specification comes in. So privacy transaction standards are specified in the one in the middle. So the light blue one kind of addresses the enterprise Ethereum blockchain specification and the components. And then the column on the right hand side, this whole column was added for cross-chain interoperability. So in order to do that, we have multiple components that we need to do to add the bridges for different kind of blockchains. So the one on the right-hand side are the cross-chain interoperability components. I think we can see this one in the use document that later on that's published already. If you're interested, you can go to that use case document for cross-chain interoperability and see more information from there. Yeah, and this one, we show that the use cases on the horizontal bar, different kinds of use cases for cross-chain interoperability, and then the components we have for the cross-chain architecture. For example, on the top, it could be the cross-chain tab, the decentralized application, they actually move asset from one blockchain to another blockchain. And then we have a cross-chain smart contract, multi-chain smart contract tools, multi-chain tools, multi-chain deployment, where you can, like today's Truckful, you can only deploy a smart contract to one blockchain, right? But for cross-chain interoperability, you need to deploy the smart contract to different blockchains. And also we need to address the private zone, because that's just like Joe Rubin mentioned, that there are different countries having different regulations and different consortiums having different privacy rules. How can you define privacy zone for different blockchains so that they can communicate with each other, but still do not reveal the privacy of their own blockchain? So these are all the things that we need to solve for cross-chain interoperability. And also we need to look at the managed finality. If one blockchain does not have finality, then you have to wait for this thing to be finalized. And that will cause trouble for the other blockchain, because the other blockchain has dependency on the source blockchain. So there's a lot of issues that you need to look at, need to solve, and need to specify. And then the cross-chain trust, the cross-chain atomic transaction, and the mixed consensus, etc. And here we label, this table shows what kind of things must have, what kind of things are recommended, and what kind of things are optional. So the work of a cross-chain interoperability task force or work group is to be able to spec these requirements and then come up with something that we can agree upon. Joe Rubin's company is working on this one as well, and they're co-chairing this work group. So I think we know the problem very well. The thing we're working on right now is to produce some specification so that it can be endorsed by our organization. Yeah, and some of the use cases in more detail. For example, cross-chain decentralized exchange. Today, normally you need to move assets from Bitcoin to Ethereum and then trade on Ethereum blockchain. With the cross-chain decentralized exchange, you can exchange assets from one blockchain to another blockchain directly without the need of moving it to another location through a centralized exchange. You can just do that with the cross-chain decentralized exchange application. And then there is also cross-chain asset trading application. This is a platform where you can kind of like CryptoKitty, you want to sell it on Ethereum blockchain, you can also say that you want to sell this for Bitcoin also. And then the buyer in the Bitcoin platform does not need to have an account on the Ethereum blockchain. He or she can just pay with Bitcoin through this cross-chain asset trading application. So there's no need to transfer asset to from one blockchain to another blockchain and do the trading. You can do the whole trading just in one shot. And also there's a cross-chain decentralized asset transform. This is different from exchange. Exchange, you change the ownership. But for transform, you just lock the account on one blockchain and transfer the same value of that asset to another location, and then you can just do application with that asset in another form. For example, Bitcoin is no ERC20 format asset, but if you can lock the Bitcoin on the Bitcoin blockchain and transfer the asset to Ethereum blockchain into an ERC20 token, then you can do a lot of DeFi with that Bitcoin. So this transform is a little bit different from exchange. Exchange, you change the ownership. Transform, don't change the ownership. You still own it, but you just do it with the asset in another form for other applications. And the cross-chain backup, this is the case for small private blockchain. Sometimes the data may not be as robust as Bitcoin. So you need to back up one blockchain data to another blockchain through cross-chain mechanism. So that's another application for cross-chain. And also there's another one like key management. Like some people worry about security. They want to save their private keys in hardware wallet. But for enterprises, you cannot let individual hold control of the keys. You have to manage the key together. And you cannot manage private keys with public blockchain. So you can come up with a private blockchain to manage the private keys for the company, and then use that to access the public blockchain. So that's another usage for cross-chain application. And then also cross-chain information syndication. This is a case where you build application, you extract all the contents from different blockchains and syndicate as one blockchain information presented to the users. Almost like blockchain Google, where you get information from different websites and present the whole holistic experience to users. So information syndication is another cross-chain usage. And also the Ether swap for gas trading. And this is a case where you have side chains, and sometimes you need to have you have gas for this chain but not the other one. You can ship some of the gas to another blockchain through cross-chain mechanism. Yeah, and then I mentioned this selective transparency with selective privacy. This is a case where you have different consortium having their own privacy. How do you deal with each other without revealing that privacy? Yeah, and then this is logistic and finance blockchain communications. That's another special case for finance. A consortium, I touched this already. And then there's nation-state sovereign data. This is a case that different countries have their own law regulation. How do you kind of make sure the data is safe within the confine of the country? Yeah, and Oracle chain is another one. Today we have Chainlink, we have different Oracle systems. This is a case where you kind of build the Oracle chain, and that Oracle chain can be used to be a base for information through cross-chain transaction. So basically, you build a Oracle chain, and using cross-chain mechanism, which is standardized, you can get information through the Oracle chain. And cross-chain charity is another special case. You want to kind of have a charity event, you just need to have the application on one blockchain, and people can donate from different blockchains to the same application on one particular blockchain. So these are the use cases that we try to address, to look at their requirement and put things together and have specification at least that can be used for these use cases. And our mission statement is to define specification and propose recommended framework and solutions, and also disseminate the knowledge of architecture design and feasibility to the Ethereum enterprise Ethereum community, and also blockchain industry in general.
Weijia, I just would like to interrupt you 1 minute, because maybe we can go through some questions before regarding what both of you have presented, and then we can go ahead with the second part of the presentation. There was one, I think, one important part where you mentioned about private blockchain for enterprises. Today, most of the enterprises working on blockchain are using private blockchain. Do you see at the EEA more project going with the Ethereum public chain? Can you expand on this?
Yeah, I see a hybrid solution for that. And I think most of the companies, because their data are private, and of course you can use a quorum's private transaction to do the private transaction for private data. You can do that. And that's what Joe Ruben mentioned.
Yes.
And there's one solution, but look at the gas fee you need to pay for that. Sometimes people did not touch that, right? Look at it. It's just impossible to transfer all the images, all the videos through public blockchain. It's impossible. So I think they're going to build private blockchain for that, for enterprises. But at the same time,
do you think it is like temporarily until ETH 2.0 will be available, or do you think it's going to stay like this even with the new Ethereum version?
I think it's going to stay. I definitely see this as a hybrid solution. There's no way you can do it with ETH2. I think if ETH2 can solve the DeFi problem, we are lucky enough for that. But to solve that,
I guess another great discussion is going on the Ether research field.
Yeah.
And people start, building ZK rollup kind of structures for like simple token transfers. That way you can save a lot of amount of gas fee and plus private transaction field. So I think that field is going to be pretty huge when ETH 2.0 comes up.
Okay. And before we go to the next stage, maybe a question on interoperability. EEA is Ethereum focused, but some of the companies that are member of the EEA already did some project on Corda or Hyperledger Fabric. Do you see, both of you, either in Japan and China, a shift from those blockchain to Ethereum? Because this is what we are seeing here in Thailand. People who started building on Corda, on Fabric, and then realizing the power of Ethereum, and now the new projects are based on Ethereum.
Yeah, I think Kazuaki can talk about Japan, but I definitely see a shift from other platforms to Ethereum, like from Fabric. Hyperledger has been very, very popular in China for enterprises because of IBM.
Yes.
And I definitely see a shift to Ethereum blockchain, but there are also challenges from Polkadot as well, Cosmo Polkadot. And I think Polkadot is a challenger for Ethereum in this space. But definitely Ethereum is going to grow because of its community and because its openness. And I think there's no barrier between enterprise Ethereum and Ethereum, public Ethereum. So that's an advantage for enterprises.
Okay, thanks. I will let you go for the rest of the presentation. Then after we'll answer some Q&A chat questions. Okay.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Kaz. I think the mission statement, I just mentioned that disseminate knowledge is something we want to do as well. And then the further discussion point, we can leave that to Q&A. Yeah, and then governance, we are following the rule of EEA, and we are governed by the board of directors of EEA. Now I'm going to turn this to Kazuaki for Ethereum in Japan.
Okay, thank you, Weijia. For the rest of the part, I would like to take a different perspective and introduce our efforts in Japan. It's really it's a little bit aside from EEA project, but there are current difficulties in Japan, maybe because you know, corporate culture is different, also developer cultures are different, and it may seem easy for companies to join organization like EEA, but in Japan it is often a very high hurdle to overcome. The culture in Japan is one that requires a lot of preparation and more than a fair amount of testing before taking the first step. And there are other reasons why it's difficult to create use case for blockchain, such as the one described in this slide. There's a little incentive for companies to use Ethereum at this moment, and also like they are hard to break away from POC phase. You know, they have done a POC on the private blockchain, but those are not ready for production. So, you know, they kind of stuck right now. And also like they can't spend more time for cooperative alliances. And like I mentioned, developer cultures are different. You know, like I also feel there's a big difference between Japan and the rest of the world. Not only the culture of the companies, but in the culture of developers. In the Western cultures, there's a still strong hacker cultures on the developer side, and you know, in Japan or Korea, the developers really develop, you know, belongs to the companies. So, you know, they can't openly do the research, or they cannot collaborate to other competitors, researchers, etc., etc. So we want to break that part. So, can you go to the next slide? And then there is a weird syndrome called the Galapagos syndrome in Japan. As you can see in the images on the slides, you know, like it's great to have a lot of application from a user's perspective, but for the businesses, there's like only limitation. There's only little devices can adopt one application. So like all the businesses have to implement all those devices in order to do the business. So it is disaster from a business perspective. So, you know, what can we done to prevent this from, you know, what can we prevent this in the blockchain field? So can you go to the next one? Thank you. So we took the same bottom-up approach like EEA does. So our company, Cougar, decided to set up a study group and discussion forum among the local business and you know, local business or larger organizations. Fortunately, this activity was recognized by Ethereum Foundation this year, and we are now operating under the name of called ETHBKK with the Ethereum Foundation grant. And like a year, we took a bottom-up approach and created a number of inter-company working groups, and to address the issues that really matters to our real life. So can you next one? Okay, and then we, you know, approached to the local media like TechCrunch and Wired, some other local medias and so on. And next one. And then so far, as you can see this slide, we have done 8 meetings in 3 months, and also we're going to have one open workshop. And we actually focus on inviting not only researchers, but also business developers and lawyers from different companies in order to tackle real life the problems to using the blockchain. And then, we believe that if this happens and the blockchain use cases become more familiar to all the users, more Japanese companies will be interested in doing the business with blockchain. So yeah, we're going to continue working on this, and then all these companies are working kind of like sub EEA members or local members in Japan. And then, once we have finished writing a specification in English, we're going to submit those back to the EEM itself for Ethereum foundations. Yep, that's it for me.
Okay, thanks a lot, Kaz-san, and thanks a lot, Weijia, for your presentation. And it's really nice to have your views on what the EEA is doing, and especially your views from your both different region, I would say. And I have a couple of questions, and then after I will go to the Q&A. We have about more than 10 minutes to go through it. But the first one that I would like to see is about adoption. I mean, both of you are working at the EEA. You should see the new members coming in, both in Japan and in China. Do you see it growing? Do you see it growing more in the financial industry or others? Can you give us both your point of view?
Yeah, I think for China, I think we're talking about two things here. One is public Ethereum blockchain, one is enterprise Ethereum blockchain. In China, the public Ethereum blockchain is,
yes.
There are regulations for that, okay? There are rules for that. I don't want to touch that in China. So people who are doing that are individuals. They are no organizations for public Ethereum blockchain. And then for enterprises, I definitely see that Ethereum will be adopted for supply chain and also for traceability, to trace the goods and trace different things. And one thing to we need to pay attention to is that Chinese big companies want to have their own solution. So
which they are building now, right?
Yeah, which they are building now. Alibaba and Finance, they just did an IPO, and Tencent, Huawei, they all want to do their own thing.
So it will be the same way as the internet, right? One Chinese internet and the internet for the rest of the world, same for blockchain, right? This is what you believe?
Yeah. So I think the growth in China will be on the small and medium enterprises, not these big ones. They always want to do their own. Yeah, and another thing is the policy, government policy. At this time, China is okay with enterprise blockchain. And they have a new construction initiative actually encouraging companies and organizations to build their own blockchain. So that is good for enterprises. But will they adopt Ethereum? That's still an unknown. I definitely see a potential growth, but I'm not sure how big it will grow too.
Okay, thanks. Kaz, what's your point?
I believe pretty much same as China, but not so much government regulations compared to China. But people love, as you can see, people in Japan love to invest on the Bitcoin or Ethereum for now. But once market crashed, people start believing in blockchain. Hey, Ethereum is over, Bitcoin is over. But the researchers or developers like us still working on practical use cases like real estate or like supply chain, like Weijia mentioned, and also like big game industries coming up from Japan pretty soon.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I guess from a developers or suppliers or product perspective, adoption is getting bigger and bigger compared to the first initial big wave of blockchains.
Okay, very interesting to get both of your point of view. And yeah, there is a question which is interesting, and I think you already mentioned it, but it's important. It's how to join the EEA and how to be involved.
Oh, okay. That's a great question.
Yes.
you can ask that question as many times as you want. Okay. First, there's an EEA website called the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance. Go to that website. Everything's there. And second thing, they can, for Thailand, they can contact you.
Yes, they
and
can.
Maxim, Untitled Maxim, contact Maxim in Thailand, and China, Japan, they can contact me or Kazuaki. And I just mentioned about our leadership, they are great people. Yeah, and you can contact them directly as well.
And I would like to mention that there is working groups at the EEA that if you're a developer or an enterprise and in a certain field, you can join and actually participate. You can talk about the standards and everything which is related to your industry. We welcome everybody. I think it's, I believe in the blockchain space, this is the only kind of organization that exists like this. So we are lucky to have it on Ethereum. So please, contact us or go directly on the website. Everything is there and you can sign up. You will get it onboarded very soon, very quickly. So, and we welcome everybody. So yeah, there is a couple of questions. This one I'm not very sure, but maybe for, this is for Kaz-san. I saw that you started project called CREAM, Confidential Reliable Ethereum Anonymous Mixer.
Oh.
Do you see someone is really deep diving on your background? Can you talk a bit about it? Is it related to EEA and their standard?
Right. CREAM it stands for like he mentioned, Confidential Reliable Ethereum Anonymous Mixer. It's a long name, but it's taken from Wu-Tang Clan song called "Cash Rules Everything Around Me." But it's a practical application for voting use cases because using confidential transaction or confidential mixers transactions. You may or you may not know about the application called Tornado Cash. You can send the token to anonymous address, and then you can hide the address. You can hide the sender address to the receiver's address using a mixer contract. So we can move that application to the voting using a coin. So like, once operator issue the token to the voters, voter can pick up the address you want to vote. And then by the result, you get the number of the token you have, you get the voting result at the end. So that's an application called CREAM. And then we are actually working on it for open source right now. And also, as I mentioned at the ETH Terracotta, we currently deeply discussing about the application, and also like we might going to do the security audit pretty soon for open source release. And as for answering that question, it's not technically it's not applied to the enterprise specifically, but also like you can deploy on the cross-chain interoperability working group and then deploy on that chain, and then you can add more different layers of privacies and stuff like that.
But thanks a lot for the reply, and I think the person asking will be quite happy with your reply. And there is about 4 minutes left, and I have 2 questions from the chat. One is from Mrs. Patarapan. What's happening at the EEA that you should be excited about?
Okay, I can answer the question. Okay, so when I joined EEA, I did not know anything about EEA. And then after I joined EEA, I became the chair of this Crosschain Interoperability Task Force. And I think that's a great honor already. And you have something, you propose it, and if you get accepted, then you drive it. So that's a great thing. Okay, so anyone can do that. Ateto can do that. Anyone in Thailand company can do that. Okay, really, it's a member-driven company, though. So Intel, Microsoft are the same as other companies. It's not like other organizations where big company has big voice, but with EA, everybody has the same voice. We are all equal. It's driven by members. Yeah, so that's good. And second thing is that it broadens your view. And then we can, like, for example, we invited like SEC, the Security Exchange Commissioner, to talk in EEA about regulations. And then we know a lot of things through listening to workshop and listening to these seminars in the EEA, kind of a interest group. And also you make a lot of friends in the EEA community, which is great. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Kaz, your point?
I think it is great for the membership collaboration can easily do that through EEA, because like usually like if you're a startup, like small company in a local organization, and then you really have a chance to talk with all those big company like Microsoft or other companies. But through that EEA, you can discuss about the specification that you're working on, because you both going to end up building one giant application, which is called Ethereum blockchain in the future.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great opportunity to join the EEA.
Okay, great. And I agree with you. This is a collaborative place where everybody have a voice. And if you want to be, actually, if you want to participate in the Ethereum blockchain, and this is a great way to do it, not only for developers, as well for executive. I know we have, today we have about 350 people who joined, and I would say half of it are kind of executives and business people. So this is a great way to actually join the panel. And the last thing before we go ahead with the next panel, I would like to just to mention again the December 3rd event, if I'm remembering well.
Yeah, December 3rd.
What is it about, and where people can join? Yeah,
Kaz, you want to go ahead?
Oh, you do it.
For the last minute of the panel.
Yeah. So it's Ethereum in the enterprise topic with focus in Asian Pacific. So any company can present, whether you are EEA member or not, you can present a topic, a theme to us. Then we can invite you to present. We're looking for advisors for the conference. We're also looking for organizers for the conference. We're also looking for people who can do media for that. So you can either participate as just a regular company, or you can contribute more by speaking, by providing news, and also be an advisor for the conference. And it covers the whole spectrum, from regulation to finance to business to policy to coding as well. So it's a very broad spectrum. Yeah.
Okay, but thanks, and I hope I'm going to join, and we are going to join. So hopefully we will have a great conference. And to both of you, thank you so much. We really appreciate that you taking the time to talk to the I would say Bangkok community, and really great presentations. We are going to have a panel in 5 minutes about Thailand regulation. So stay tuned, and thanks a lot, Kansan, Weijia. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope I see you soon at the EEA meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.